Ooh. Oh shit, it's because of this, the snare. Hell yeah. Okay. Ego Dynamic. Cool ass name. Asks about sidechain compression. So I'll talk about sidechain compression. Or sidechaining. Very popular in dubstep. So popular that it's pretty much necessary. Not always, because it's music and you can do whatever you want, but it is pretty standard. So, in general, with a regular compressor, you have an input signal, and if the input signal goes over a certain threshold, it starts to turn the volume down. With sidechain compression, you have a compressor on a signal, you have a separate input, a sidechain input, going into that compressor, and when that sidechain input goes over the threshold by a certain amount, it will turn the volume down. So the way you do that in FL Studio is by having your input signal, and I would put Fruity Limiter, because if you go to the compressor setting, you can select the sidechain input. So go to the Fruity Limiter, go to compressor settings, select whatever input, whatever number corresponds to what you're sidechaining. Generally, the sidechain would follow kick and snare. So I have a kick on 1 and 3, because we're in halftime. When I sidechained my sidechain input, it showed up as 3. So I set the sidechain to my kick, which for me is 3. And right now, you can see it is doing nothing. That's because we have to set the threshold in the ratio. The threshold just says what volume the kick has to go above to activate the compressor. And the ratio just says by how much it'll reduce the volume of the sound. So for dubstep, you want a super low threshold, super, super low, and an extremely high ratio. You'll know you're doing it right when you hit play. When you see all these, every time the kick hits, you can see this line drops down, drops the volume way down, comes back up. I just pointed at the screen like you can see that. If it's set to the wrong input, it'll look something like this, where it's compressing by the wrong thing. This is what you want to see. You want to see ducks in volume every time the kick hits. So that is sidechain compression, and you can control how long it is with the release. Which is great and all, but the thing about that is honestly not how a lot of dubstep producers do sidechain now. The way I would do it, and I believe the way most people do it, is by manually automating it yourself. Because you have more control. As you can see, if I increase the release time, I can extend how long the volume stays down. But if I reduce the release time, you can see that past a certain point, I can't get any smaller. It also starts clipping off individual cycles, which is gnarly. That's a fast fucking compressor. That's a little limiting. Sometimes I want it to be shorter, sometimes I want it to be longer, sometimes I want it to be in time, like a rhythmic subdivision. So the way I do it is by, as you can see here, just manually automating the volume. So what I'm doing here is I'm sending all my basses, all the red channels. I'm a big fan of buses. I'm sending all my basses to sidechain, both right in the sidechain bus. And I just automate the volume on this. As you can see, it just follows my automation. Nice thing about it is that, look at that, it's shorter than the signal. So I can control how short I want it to be. If I want it to be super short, I could bring it like right there. Which works. If I want it to be super long, I can have it be super long. It's kind of gnarly, actually. Doing it this way gives me more control. This is the way I recommend. It's great for dubstep. Sending everything to a bus, literally just routing it like that, boom. And then just manually automating the volume and calling it a day. That's the way I recommend. There are drawbacks that I don't think I need to get into with buses. There's certain drawbacks that at least I've encountered when routing things to like a sidechain bus and manually automating it. But in general, the benefits vastly outweigh the drawbacks. So this is the way I do it. This is the way I would recommend you do it. But you don't have to. You can do it the other way too. Whatever floats your boat. So yeah, hope that answered your question.